This episode is being brought to you by Vizzy Digital Solutions. Are you an entrepreneur, solopreneur, small business, or nonprofit in need of design and digital solutions to grow and scale? Then look no further. Vizzy Digital Solutions is a high-level marketing, development, and security agency. We use creative design and emerging technologies to expand brands and nonprofit organizations. To learn more or schedule a free consultation, visit us today online at VizzyDigitalSolutions.com. That's VISIE digitalsolutions.com.
Even know them, they just like cold call me.
Oh shit, you try to disrespect your gangster.
Yeah,
Bro,
man.
so y'all record this?
Yeah.
Oh, nigga, it's a podcast.
No, that's I didn't know. Like,
You're gonna be on YouTube.
In my mind, I always thought I always do these live. So I was like, damn, they must record this because like I ain't seen no ads or nothing nowhere.
Nah. We record this, man.
You see the ad afterwards. Like we'll record it first, then the ad come after.
Okay.
Yeah. That's afterwards, man. Yeah. How you been though?
Man, just trying to maintain. I'm finally feeling somewhat decent. I had the flu. That shit had a boy down bad.
No
man. Dang, what?
How your lady doing, man?
Man, she good. She in Atlanta chilling.
I was about to say you didn't get her sick, did you?
I got this shit from kids, bro.
Damn.
That's the worst one. That's the worst.
If you live around any children, bro, you gonna get something.
Facts.
I picked his ass up. He was like, my throat hurt. The next day I was in the bed, 103 fever.
My throat hurt.
Hey, Ruck, I was just going to ask you if you've been staying on that water, man. Keep that water in you, boy.
Bro, we going on day 9. I'm still like no energy.
Jeez.
Yeah, it take a while to bounce back from that flu.
Yeah, sometimes take a couple of weeks. Yeah. 3 weeks. Ruck, you still in Detroit?
Yeah, man. I'm getting out of here at some point. I feel like I hear a sound playing in the background on my side, but I'm like, what the hell is it?
Oh, it's got to be me. I'm watching basketball too.
You watching?
Nah, this is not you. I don't know what the hell it is though.
I just muted it.
It's driving me crazy. It's on my end though.
Okay. Well, y'all ready to get started?
Yeah, I just don't want y'all hearing like bird noises and shit, because that's what it is.
These, my friend, are first world problems. We'll work it out.
This nigga watching the Nature Channel over here.
Well, close the windows, man.
Got the flu going on. That window shit is real, dog. Okay, everybody, welcome to 4 Times Dope podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jamie. I got my boys here, Kwame, Jermaine, and Kasharo. And we got our guest today is one of my neos and artist to the stars, to the world, Mr. Rashuan Rucker out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So, gentlemen, how's it been? It's a brand new year, man.
Oh, that's right. It's our first show of 2023.
It's our first show of the new year, 2023, right. Jordan year. Throw them up. What up, man? How you been over the new year, dog?
Man, you know what? It's a lot going on, but I'm excited about 23. I got projects coming in and just life, dude. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I'm at my mom's house now. So if it's kind of robotic, you guys know.
We know what it is.
Yeah, you know what it is. So yeah. Right.
Wait. All right, Kwame, what's good?
I've been low, man. Been real low. It's blessed to for another year. Just hopefully you just take it to another level, man. Just open for all the blessings, man. So right now it's been real low key.
Okay. Ruck, what's good? You say you got what else is going on?
Yeah, I'm grateful for this little break from grad school, boy. Bro, okay. And I ain't equipped to be back in school at 44 again.
No, it's over, bro. You want to listen?
It's a lot. It's definitely
telling me
a lot.
What to do. I can't tell. I got kids, nigga. You can't tell me what to do. Kashara, what's good, dog?
I'm good, brother. I'm echoing everybody else said. I'm just happy, be here. 2023 is gonna be busy, but it's gonna be good. I'm excited about what's in store, so it's good.
What's in store though? Because from what I heard, somebody running for Mr. NCCU. I just gotta let that cat out the bag. I'm gonna let the world know, bro.
Yeah, that's the word in the street. Yeah.
All right, Kasharo 2023, Mr. NCCU. So you gotta get your coins up and throw them into the hat for Mr. Isling here. I had to let the cat in the bag, dog, because I'm proud. I'm ready.
It's all good. I appreciate the support.
Let's go. We're gonna jump into this lead topic here, and I want to know, changing artists' perception of enrolling in HBCUs. And I'll ask you, Ruck, when it comes to like artists coming to schools, does it matter if they go to an HBCU versus a PWI? I mean, as far as access, resources, and influence, what is should we be changing the artist perception to come to HBCU that goes to PWI? So if he wants to go to Duke, should he come to Central?
I think bringing artists to HBCUs, it's the same issue you get with bringing athletes to HBCUs.
Got you.
The same thing, and I think society has this construct where anything that we determine and label good, it means white. I'm going to a good art program, going to a good whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think when I look at, just looking at some of I came to Central not only because my parents went there, but Ernie Barnes went there and Beverly McIver. And in my mind, I'm like, if Central good enough for Ernie Barnes, it's good enough for me because I ain't even done shit yet. So, if he can go there and he can make it. Some of your leading Black artists in contemporary art right now, Bisa Butler, she went to Howard. Derek Fordro went to Morehouse. Amy Sherrill, who painted the Michelle Obama portrait, went to Clark. Like some of, and I think kids don't know that because we don't push it out there enough. We don't celebrate it. Because I think when you look at most HBCUs, they either built on education, social work,
fucking jazz,
or engineering.
Right.
Yeah.
Art is not really celebrated. Like you just kind of the redheaded stepchildren on campus. You tucked away with the theater kids and some of the music people. Right. Even in Central, like there was much more focus on music, jazz,
fucking jazz to this day,
choir. Like nobody really knew. But I think we got to be the ones that change. I guess what that looks like, and
how do we go about doing that?
I think we got to be more supportive. I'm looking at a lot of these schools, Winston-Salem State, like Central, all these schools that have museums on campus, they don't even support that. Central had a director lead a museum a few years ago. That job was just open forever. Now they just gave it to the chair of the department. I'm like, you can't really be the chair and the director of the museum.
Right.
Because one of them going to fail. Right. And so Winston-Salem State didn't even hire nobody. They just closed their museum.
Just closed it.
So I think it's like you gotta put action to it. You gotta show people that it is important. Because if you don't do that, like why would I come to your school if the museum closed down?
Right, as an artist.
That's how I get my workout. It's like you got to put. If you think about it, the first thing, and I noticed when I looked at I don't know. Can y'all hear background music?
No,
you sound fine.
Okay. The first thing I noticed, even with Jackson State and Dion, the first thing he did was he changed the athletic environment, the locker rooms, all these things.
Yes, beautified it.
Because I'm like, you got to beautify. You got to show it's important. You can't have a museum and it's leaking. You got trash can in the middle of the floor catching water.
That's right, bro.
We gotta be way more supportive of it. I feel like Central could do a bigger job with that and with the fashion and textiles department. I don't even know why those ain't in the same umbrella.
They're not. They're completely different buildings.
And I've never understood that. Like, why is that, not a thing where they're together?
Right.
It's funny you saying that because I felt like even when we was there, I don't know how it is now, but it felt like those departments were like the least talked about departments.
Least promoted.
Yeah, and like I didn't even know we had a museum there. I don't know if that's bad or not. I never knew.
Bro, it's right beside the calf.
Never knew we had a museum.
Damn.
I'm laughing because I know that could be very true. Like I bet a bunch of students don't know it exists.
I've been in there twice.
Yeah, I might have been there once. And
I think I've been in there once or twice.
Yeah, but
and if you went in there once, it was probably because somebody from art appreciation class made you go over there for a class assignment or something.
Soldier by then.
I mean, even if you have to come from the standpoint of making it very contemporary and showing students that it's definitely like an area of like investment and wealth and gaining. I mean, that's why you're starting to see a lot of like people our age, a little bit younger, like buying a lot of art because they realizing like, shit, this painting doing better than these stocks I bought.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, you start to see people you know, have multiple income streams.
Right. Let me, and look, you touched on something that's important. I was going to say this too. But let me ask you guys something. Coming out of high school, and Ruck, you too. This question is for you too. Did you guys ever visit any PWIs, any white schools?
Visit as in to go, or
as a tour or something? Or?
No, as a prospective school that you may attend. Did you have any visits to any white schools?
I ain't been to no schools.
No, because I didn't
okay.
Look at any white schools.
Okay, Jamie, you say yeah?
Yeah, I went to Carolina.
Okay, what'd you think?
Carolina's fucking luscious as hell.
Okay, here's my point. And I actually thought about this yesterday. I was talking to my sister about this. Same question I asked you guys, I asked her in regard to what art would work. But I visited white schools specifically for athletics. When I was coming out of high school, any white school that I visited Carolina too, went to a camp in Carolina. And here's my point. When you come from where we come from, the inner city, or you come from a single parent black home, when you get to these white schools, let me speak for me. When I entered those white schools campuses, it contradicted everything back in my personal space. So how's an HBCU gonna tell this little black boy that, hey, you need to come over here when I done seen all this stuff that these PWIs are offering? And when I say contradict, I mean it's better than what I've been getting in an environment I come from. So, and that's just athletics, even academic scholarships, right? So my point is, I can only imagine someone who's an artist or they have an artistic talent, unless Ruck might have a different dynamic. Ruck was already rooted in HBCU culture. I was too, because my older brother went to HBCU. My sister went to Central. My older brother went to Federal State. But for someone who has no connections to HBCU or college life, it can be hard to sway them into HBCU world. Everyone's not going to get that Dion experience in the HBCU. That's a once in a lifetime thing, right? I mean, we got Eddie George, we got what's it, Mike Mentor, but somebody, right? But Prime's impact on the game influenced Jackson to get a new stadium, put barbershops inside the the locker rooms and stuff like that. It's just a whole different world. So I just wanted to make that point, like.
Right, but what you saying, I hear what you're saying. I think she did do that, but look at all the gyms that we have in CCU. Think I have that same influence.
Oh yeah, I'm not negating that at all. I'm saying,
but I'm making to your point. What he did, I think we could also do for art at our
right. But here's my primary point with that. It shouldn't have to take a prime for that impact to be impactful. You understand what I'm saying? I think that's what we're doing is holding a mirror up to black culture and saying, hey, we all need to give back. We all need to take on the role of prime. It shouldn't take a prime or someone who's famous. And that's why, and you guys know I'm big on this. I am huge on, if somebody I know that went to Central is doing something, and I'm doing something, I'm working on a project, I should be able to call you on the phone. I shouldn't have to go through this person and go through this person. What you doing, nigga? This man. But yeah, so my point is, what Prime did to me is something that we all can do. Everybody on this podcast is mad successful in some form or fashion, right? So we got to take on that prime role. We can't, and to Ruck's point, right? It is kind of like sports, but we have to go back and stand in those gaps and bridge the gaps. We should not have to be able to go through an assistant or call. We should be able to get at each other directly. Hey, look, I got this going on in NCCU. I need your support. Can you support me? Yes or no? Right. And I think that honestly, we're holding a mirror up to our culture. Some of this is our fault, right? Why we can't get these, we can't, it's not a path laid is what I'm saying. And maybe it's just me.
You make a good point. Go ahead, Ruck. I'm sorry.
There's so many ways to look at this. It's like, wrong on both sides, right on both sides. Like when I think about Deion, it's like I kind of look at him like Google. Like Deion didn't own anything that Jackson State already had that. He just amplified what was there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Google. Google don't really make anything. You just go to Magic Google and you say, who is Jamie Patterson? Right. It ain't telling you, it's telling you what somebody else said who Jamie Patterson is.
Just giving
you an answer that it doesn't own.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he just took it, packaged it up, amplified it. But I think we do a bad job sometimes of doing these things. Like, prime example, earlier this year, I was coming to Wake Forest University. They were bringing me in to give a lecture, paying me, flying me, hotel, the whole nine. I called Central and said, hey,
I'm already down here.
On their dime. I will drive from Charlotte to Durham because I flew into Charlotte because it's closer. And I will give a lecture the day before, and then I'll drive back to Winston-Salem so I can get a lecture at Wake Forest. They said, oh, that sounds great. We'll get back in touch with you.
Never heard from
crickets.
Who did you say that to?
And Ruck, the same thing happened to me. I'm over here. I'm giving you a standing ovation for you saying it because the same exact thing happened to me. I didn't cut you off, but I just want to make that point.
Who was it, dog? We got to put names of this shit. We in power now.
It was the chair of the art department.
Motherfuckers got to be called out.
Like you said, I agree, Jamie. We are. We in power.
It was the chair of the art department. They sent out an email. I replied to the email. They said, write a synopsis up. I did that too. Nothing.
Wow. Nothing.
And so,
dang, that's crazy.
And they were telling me in the art department how they had this big responsibility coming from, on how to recruit. I said, what better recruitment tool than me coming there and speaking, and you invite all the art students from the surrounding high school.
You're doing too much like right here right now, because
sounds too much like right. You're right.
And what to your point, I've always said this, man. And Shiro and I kind of had a conversation a few days ago on something similar to this. But my point is, here's another point we'll make real quick. All right, I teach at the PWI. Okay, they've given me so much leverage to do so many different things, even though I'm talking that talk about Black folks and giving out platform. When I was teaching at these HBCUs, even now, it's almost like, don't turn up, Jones, because I drag them out in deep waters. But my point is this: back to what I said, the grassroots of what I said, and because I'm passionate about education. I'm passionate about anything artistic, anything that's going to allow us to live a better life and transition us to a middle class lifestyle. I'm super passionate about it. But I think, again, and that's why, and Kashara was getting on me a couple of years ago about being more active in NCCU Alumni Association. I'm trying. I'm doing a lot better than I was a couple of years ago, right? But my point is, we have to be more open to each other's artistic ideas, platforms, and we have to do this, and we gotta get out of this that whole pastor mentality. Oh, I'm a pastor, I can't talk to you, kick it with the deacon. No, nigga, I want to you. I don't want to talk to him.
Oh, ass nigga.
And we got to be obtainable and reachable for one another, because like Ruck said, he amplified what was already there. But sometimes, man, we got to break these generational curses, even with alumni not wanting to let the torch go and pass it to younger alumni. We got to break these. We got to get out of this mindset, man, and stop being cliquish when it comes to certain aspect of HBCU culture, because it's really holding us back. It really is. So when you see somebody kind of sprout out and make it, which a lot of us we have, it's almost foreign. because we're not really supporting one another. And I think even with art, there's no way Central, the heavy hitters, the artists that have come out of Central, including Ruck, there's no way that NCCU's art program should not have a major platform. There's no way. It's just no way.
I don't know how you fix that stuff. Like even right before COVID, the school called me and said, we want to offer you this endowment professorship. We started talking about money, salary. It was a pay cut. I said, I'm willing to come. I just need another year on the contract. You can't bring me down from Detroit for 1 year.
No, that's a waste.
I need at least 2 years.
Right.
I said, and it's a pay cut, and I got to bring my whole family. I want y'all to move me. As soon as I started talking to them about moving me, crickets.
Damn, I was like, motherfuckers a lot of help, but they just keep fucking up.
And I was like, wow, like you can't move me.
Same person?
You know, no, this is a whole different person. It's kind of, you know, and it was funny because I had that same conversation with Warrior where he said, you know, Central has never really brought me down. He said A&T was bringing me down. Central got wind of it and then brought me down a week before just so it didn't look bad.
But see, oh man,
but that's what I don't understand. And I told the chair of the department, I said, what should go on doing homecoming? I don't know what day, maybe it's a Wednesday or a Thursday during the daytime. I said, every department on that campus should be having a homecoming for alumni in that department.
Yep.
Interdepartment homecoming. We're going to have workshops. We're going to have, you know, panel discussions. These are people coming out of the business administration who have done it, who have made it.
Right.
I said, there's no reason the criminal justice department shouldn't have had Jason over there when he was chief, right there in the middle of all that chaos with Black Lives Matter. It's like you're not using your resources that are available.
Yeah.
Every homecoming, I should be sitting in the art department with Kevin Claiborne, with Beverly McGovern, all these people, at least for a couple hours on a Wednesday, and giving people like the nuts and the bolts and the tips and those type of things. All you gotta do is give us a chicken plate, bro. I ain't even asking you to really come off on that. I'm just saying, like, just use what's there.
Damn. Go ahead,
we already there. We already coming to homecoming.
Right.
I mean, you throwing out some good, throwing out some ideas, and I just want to kind of just piggyback what you said earlier, right? Like when you were saying that the art department is like the stepchild. But from my perception, because we came in at the same time, and it seemed like even though y'all might have been a small department, it seemed like y'all was very tight. Like y'all was having stuff, and maybe because I knew Ron and knew you as well, and Becky and all that. So I know that, like, saying that y'all was kind of tight as far as what was going on. I didn't know as much about what was happening, and I think that's something like that. That's the synopsis of this whole conversation. That's how you get the exposure on there, because it's not just the campus part, but just like, what do we do to support Black artists once you graduate too as well? Is it going to Black art galleries, buying Black art? I don't know the answer to it. Of course, like I said, we learned about Ernie Barnes. I didn't know about Ernie Barnes until I actually got there. And for people who's listening, most people probably in Central knows that, but we know that he's famous for painting the mural on the Good Times and the Marvin Gaye cover too as well. But I think it's more about educating and trying to support that area, whatever, and stuff as well. So like I said, we just wanted to have a different twist on what's going on, how to highlight some of the issues that may be going on, that we might be unaware of, whatever, and stuff. And trying to hearing your story, it seems like it seems crazy, like you're saying that you're a product of this particular university, and then when it's time to give back, they can't even, like, and maybe it's the resources, maybe people in charge, maybe people just, I don't know.
There's always people in charge.
Saying the decision making of let's go back to people in charge once again. It's just like, how do we get these people attention, and how do you get more young artists to come in here and pick a school like Central or another HBCU versus a PWI as a good opportunity to say, hey, I can come from here and I made it. I mean, you did it, Ruck. I'm saying, we proud of you.
Bruh, I mean, right now, I'm like, they just put out the new Black Smithsonian calendar. I'm January. Art is January. It's like, I ain't seen Central don't mention it. They can use it to advertise.
That's crazy.
Like, I've been in grad school for one semester, going to my second semester at a white school, a really privileged white school. Bro, you know how many times they had my smiling black face on bulletin boards? I ain't
I
even
can
been
relate.
there 3 months.
That's crazy. I can relate.
I be on everything.
Right. I can relate, bro. That's crazy,
like,
man.
Use what's there. Use what you got. I've never quite understood that, like, about HBCUs.
But
like,
that goes back to what I
need right there.
But that goes back to what I was just saying a second ago. That's why we can't get those folks to channel, because they're not doing the things that these PWI, unfortunately, we're not doing the things that these PWIs are doing. That's part of the issue. It's cliquish all the way up to the administration level, I believe.
All the way.
Well, let me ask you before we shift gears real quick. You might have said it, I just want to double back. So how do we get the next Sean Ruck, who's a senior right now, want to do art, or just very artistic type of person? How do we get that person to not only look at a PWI and look at some of our HBCUs? What do you think? How can that be done? What do you think?
What you have to do is you have, and not just an art student, any student,
right?
You got to sell the culture. You have to sell the culture of the HBCU. Like, you just have to, because what they don't realize, if you are an art student and you go to a PWI, you're gonna be miserable there because you're gonna be explaining to them what it is to be black and why your work is black more than you're gonna be making work. But you can come here, be surrounded by people who are unapologetically black, and you can make your art and have critical dialect about it and what it's about, and learn more about black artists. I know more about black artists than most artists I know because I went to a HBCU. And that was like steeped in our education there. But I mean, I think a lot of us in our generation, we went to HBCUs because the culture was sold to us. Different World was a huge difference. I watched it every week on TV, and I was like, I'm going to a black college. All I ever wanted to be was Dwayne Wayne. I just wanted a damn saddlebag, book bag, and some Jordans. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but we don't sell that culture. You got to sell the culture and sell how beautiful it is. Because think about it, you never met anybody who went to an HBCU that didn't say they regretted it. Everybody I ever met was like, it was the best time of my life. You might not have thought that upon going. When you look back, you like, that was the greatest time of my life.
True. But I find a lot of white folk, a lot of black folk to go to these PWIs, like, man, I regret that I went there. I should have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I got students now come in my office and be like, Jones, I'm having a hard time, or I need some counseling, or I'm tired of having to explain this and that. It's a lot of heavy lifting. It's heavy lifting, yo.
Well, speaking of culture, blackness, black shows, and all that, what's y'all's take on black movies and black TV shows today compared to black TV shows and black movies in the 90s? Like, what comparisons do you see, good or bad, or similarities?
Kwame,
I'll go to you first.
Oh, okay. Well, I think, like I said, that's you're talking about the early 90s, late 80s, like, and Ruck kind of hit on different worlds. You think of the School Days. You think of what else? House Party, those different things. All these different movies and stuff kind of influence us, as at least our generations, as probably, like preteens or maybe teenager age when that time, where it gave us a look of just being black, what's going on in the world, as far as like you thinking of Boys in the Hood and stuff, and thinking about like just some of the crime, you think about some of the good part of the House Party thing, like I mentioned earlier. So I think
New Jack City,
it gives us a scope of the acting and everything what's going on. So I mean, of course, it's influence, and it's kind of nostalgia when you kind of see and go back to it, because it brings you back to your childhood. Well, personally, like I said, I can watch something, but even if I love something, a lot of times I don't watch it over and over again. I mean, if it's on, it's on. But just like I do like, and I say that I do like it because like the growth of things now, I think there's more detail. Some of the things, I think some of the writing for certain stuff is more developed and more better. We start seeing black people in different lights. Like you can even use a show like Insecure. It's not just the show itself. If you think about it, that might be one of the very few times I can think about anyway in regards of watching a TV show that's based in LA that's not either gang related or Hollywood related. It shows like a pretty much,
just basic people
related. Everyday middle
very
class
relatable
people too. So it's making it very relatable. So it's not and then also you even look at the background imagery of even the production part, the lighting they use on the black skin and highlighting the beautiful, our blackness, you know what I'm saying, into that. So you can see the growth and the development, those type of things. And I think that I think things are to a whole different level as far as you look at the other one. What's the one with the real popular one now, the high school one, not the high school, the elementary school version in Philadelphia.
Abbott,
you know what I'm saying? It's almost like she don't like to be compared to The Office, but it's kind of like that same type of comedy and stuff like that.
The same universe.
It's
the same universe, documentary style.
Yeah. So so you see that this developing the growth of it. I like this like now with this ability to just kind of to use your own phones, like going back to Insecure. I watched the Issa Rae's YouTube version of the what was it? The
Black Girl.
Black Girl was it called? And it's so funny because the production wasn't great, but I actually really enjoyed it because it's like it was so grassroots and so whatever. And you could tell she did a low budget, but it was still entertaining. And there's something that came that looked like it was shot off somebody's iPhone. You know what I'm saying? And now you get a multi-million-dollar deal with HBO, and you had this great show from 5 to 6, seasons of doing it. Yo, I mean, like to see that, have the opportunity to do that. I mean, I think that it leads to a lot of different greatness. You go to the whole Wakanda stuff, you know what I'm saying, and you're seeing black superheroes, stuff like that. So I enjoy the growth of black characters in movies and shows. I mean, we still can get some more roles, of course, though. But I like the direction it's going in personally.
All right, Jamie, what you think?
I would say TV is a lot smarter now. Smarter as in there are more words coming out of each character. Each character has these multi-dimensional parts of their lives versus just being Dwayne
very typical
and very typical. And you can find it in a lot of different places. I think I have an issue with from the 90s. It stopped in 2000 after the WB got bought. That's when shit went left.
Yeah.
WB got bought, rid of all the black folk. That's when we were losing our. We had a lot of steam coming out of the 90s into the 2000s. So I think about 2010 because now that's 10 years ago. It's actually 13 years ago. We had a lot of steam. It was a desert that we didn't have a lot of smart stuff coming out. I mean, you got to remember what came before Insecure that was really launching us into a space where these shows were smarter, funnier. Black people weren't so atypical and stereotypical. So I appreciate, I think it's a show called Woke. I watched.
What was Woke about?
It's about this artist. He's a comic strip writer. It's on.
I've seen that.
Yeah. I think he did too.
So he has this famous comic strip, and he just loses it.
Don't he lose his job or something doing that, whatever and stuff? Yeah. I think I've seen that.
Favorite show in Atlanta because that shit is just very smart.
Atlanta's a good one.
Yeah, it is.
You got to know what's happening. The episode when he came back for season 3, where the little boy looked like Aloe Black with the damn hat on. The white family took him and them. They adopted him.
Oh yeah, that's off a true story.
Smart. Because you had to know you had to have read the papers about this white lesbian couple that took these black kids in and made them killed everybody.
Right.
He was trying to tell the cops, but that's a smart show. With
Jordan Peele Googling stuff, man. You be Googling and researching when you get done.
Yeah, it's definitely a show. It's good. It makes you think and it makes you go back and check stuff. You know what I mean?
You have to check other resources. I get on Reddit and read about the movie Woke. Not Woke, but Nope with Jordan
Peele.
So that movie was good as hell. All of his 3 movies out of his canon were amazing because I don't even like horror at all. but that shit is good because it's like it's very smart. So I'll say is I appreciate the opportunity because what the 90s gave us
blueprint,
our base, our 70s gave us blaxploitation, where the 90s and the 80s was giving us, okay, thank you, Dr. Cosby. We got, a base with him, and then they gave us Different World, and they gave us what's that movie with Urkel and shit, the show Urkel.
Family Matters.
Family Matters.
They gave us a regular ass black family. And like, yo, we're just trying to be fucking regular, dog.
Right.
He's a nerd. Yeah, I mean, we all have, so we're not as savage as they were when they showed us in blaxploitation. So we find a base with if you think about it, the Huxtables ain't do shit. He was a mom. I mean, she was a lawyer. He was a doctor. That's all. It was no more, no less. Kids went to college. They was good kids. That was it.
Had just everyday problems and issues. You know what I'm saying? Like anybody else.
There was a basic ass family. It was like, oh, we can live like that. So we finally pivoted and got to a place where we could just be regular, like in Atlanta. That fucking shit is crazy.
All right, Ruck, what's your thoughts?
I think TV is just smarter. It's just smarter. The dialogues are better, especially to somebody like me who just appreciate dialogue in general in movies and TV show. I just want to hear the conversation and hear where it's going. I mean, Insecure was kind of like Living Single 2.0 to me. Like you just kind of watching these young people like grow together. And it's weird because when you get older, it's like I used to watch Insecure and be like, damn, why are they making all these dumb mistakes? But now I have to realize like the characters are much younger than us.
Right.
I'm looking at it like a 44-year-old person. Like, you can't be this stupid.
Would you do that?
They 25, 24.
It's kind of, and I think like it's just everything is more layered and nuanced. And like I love Abbott, and I think we like Abbott because we can identify with that. We went to an elementary school like that. Where you had the crazy janitor who was dropping the little jewels on you every day, and
we had
you had the mean white teacher and the mean black teacher, and the new teacher everybody's trying to get over on. I also think TV and movies now are very specific.
Yes,
and so just Yes, as Wendell Pierce says, one of my favorite quotes. Wendell Pierce, the actor, he said, "The more specific you get, the broader you get." Because he was like, everybody has a mother, everybody's got a kindergarten teacher. When you dig down, it just gets broad.
It does.
So when I look at those shows, I'm like, even Fresh Prince, I'm like, we all got somebody in our family that they might not have been rich like that, but you had a cousin in New York who was an asshole to come home for Thanksgiving with their mom and daddy with their minks on and making you feel a certain kind of way.
Niggas.
Everybody had that type of dynamic.
Yes.
In their family, where there was the rich auntie or somebody who had a little bit more money, thought they were better than somebody. I just finished The Best Man, and I was like,
that was good.
I liked it more than the movies because I was like, it was way more layers to it.
Yeah, it was very relatable.
I feel like I got to know every character to a different level.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was really good. Yeah,
I was like, so far we all like,
damn, this is good.
Yeah,
because I think in the movies we just saw Terrence Howard characters like just a fuck up, idiot, and it's like you get layers of him in the TV show. He's just a jokester, idiot. Now you get these layers of everybody.
Yeah,
you realize, oh boy, who the book author, he ain't really got it all together like he presents to the world at all. And I think we all do. We all mask in some type of way. So I think TV just got more. Even like that's why I love Blackish, because I was like, shit, I ain't rich, but I know what it's like to go to a white corporate job every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Anthony Anderson's character was going, and you know what it's like to go teach at the PWI. And you're like, shit.
You always gotta prove your blackness and still be yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You gotta go in there and be dealing with all kind of levels of like microaggressions and stuff.
That's true.
I love the TV.
Yeah.
Drain.
So I appreciate the contemporary TV shows, but I think black TV and movies, I think it gave black culture a chance to respond to white oppression. 70s, the exploitations the whole, the whole karate kung fu movement, black people incorporating that into what was cool. And then you got the hip hop coming in the late 70s. And then you got the Second Pants from Prison, which merged with the whole street hip hop culture. Then you got movies made about that. Then you got Colors, and you got the early 80s. And here comes Dr. Cosby, Bill Cosby, with this whole show that basically exemplifies and contradicts a lot of Black America's households. Two-parent households, kids, everybody smart. You got your you got your issues, but at the end of the day, it goes back to the family values, right? Yeah. Then comes, and that actually, believe it or not, that show, if I'm not mistaken, you guys can go back and double check behind me. In the 70s, 60s and 70s, Black folks were going to the armed forces. When that show popped off, enrollment increased, and HBCU enrollment increased for years, right? Like Ruck said, everybody, matter of fact, my sister Sora just told me the other day, she said, the first time I wanted a Louis Vuitton is when I saw Whitley with all that Louis luggage in that episode or A Different World. So my point is, and then you got the Cosby Show. But my point is, the thing I loved about the 90s shows was that it underscored like Black relationships. You had Martin, you had Girlfriends, you had Moesha, the Parkers, Steve Harvey, Living Single. Everything was about relationships, Black relationships, and intermingling with everyone, not being cliquish, but like really understanding each character. To me, it's like they understood their relationship with everybody. And then now I think today I can appreciate this. I can appreciate even a lot smarter. I think it's the dialogue is more elevated, right? I think the characters are a bit more elevated, but at the same time it's grounded, right? We're still talking about typical shit we got to go through. I think now each era in regard to TV, I think each era was some sort of a defense mechanism of the current times of white oppression during that time, right? If that makes any sense. So I can definitely appreciate it, even though honestly, I'm not a big fan of TV. I don't watch a lot of TV. I may read more than I do watch TV, but I can appreciate where we are with it, and what they're doing with it, if that makes sense. But the whole relationship aspect of it makes it make sense for me, if that makes sense. Yeah. So, Kishara, did you say anything about that?
No, not really. I mean, y'all kind of pretty much summed it up. For me personally, I just feel like most of the 90s shows, it was kind of like, it kind of gave me something to look forward to in different aspects, So like, again, you got different where you want to go to college, like Martin, I wanted like a Tisha Campbell-ish like chick or whatever. I wanted the group of friends that you can hang out with and do stuff with. Like, it just gave me certain things I wanted to look forward to as I got older, compared to now. I'm looking at shows with a different set of eyes because I'm older. Yeah. So a lot more things are a lot more relatable to me, because a lot of these shows are dealing with things that we're going through right now or have gone through, yeah, exactly. So it's just different. So, but I like the growth. I think, like Kwame said, like the character development of seeing things. Because I'm older, so I'm looking at it from different things.
I think the one last one I would make about temporary TV is that it's definitely more about representation. And even marginalized groups inside of the Black community, when you see shows like Pose and Legendary, and even when you look at The Best Man, and you see the storyline about his son, son wanted to transit, and it's like you start to see. I think TV is letting everyone see a representation of themselves. But before you would never see that, and I think it's along with society. It's kind of growing as we grow as society.
That's right. And to that point, Girlfriend, you guys remember the show Girlfriends, right?
Yeah, Kelsey Grammer.
Tracy Ellis.
Yeah, and one of the chicks used to be, she was a cheerleader for Dallas Cowboys. What's her name? Oh God, Tony. Was it Tony?
Tony. Yeah.
Yeah. But out of those chicks, man, I used to be like, yo, I want a chick like this. I want a chick like this. Like I was gauging out. That was my benchmark. You know what I'm saying? So it was impactful in terms of the relationships they had, if that makes sense. So, all right, fellas. So, all right. And speaking of relationships, quickly before we, and I'm loving this conversation, by the way, everybody up here. Rucker, I appreciate you, man, coming through too. So okay, so we're talking about relationships. Well, I made a point about relationships. So I have a question. Do you guys believe that friends change once they get into serious relationships? It can be post-marriage, well, premarital relationship, girlfriendship, whatever. Kashara, what are your thoughts on that?
I think people do change, but I think you have to change. You know, when you get into a relationship, it's almost like you gotta. Well, if you mature, again, maturity got to be there too, but you gotta know how to balance. You know, everything's about balance. You know what I mean? I think that's where a lot of issues come in for people, because it's kind of like you used to rolling with the homies all the time, but then this girl coming to the picture. It's kind of like, okay, now you spend a lot of your time with her, and sometimes it could be either because you want to spend all your time with her, or she wants you to spend all your time with her, but you can spend all your time with your homies like you
case by case.
Yeah, it's all case by case. So I think it's all about balance. You know what I mean? So I do think
case by case.
We do change, but I think that, to me, what I just described is it could be a positive change, but I think there's some negative changes too. And I think sometimes people get so caught up and lost in those new situations that they don't even realize that they have changed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I think change is good. I mean, hell, if you get a new job, you're gonna change, your schedule change, your time change. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I just think when you lose yourself in anything and you become disconnected away from certain things, I think at that point it can be dangerous. Jamie, what you I see you look on your face. Yeah. What you think?
You damn right you're gonna change, because like it's really time management, because that time that you could spend with your friends is gone. That stuff is evacuated, and you're no longer called on for fun time because your ass got to be with your lady. But with that person should come change. I mean, you should grow into the relationship, which requires time and exposure to the person, and then to their side of the table. Like I say, when you marry a person, you're not marrying just them or with the person. You really with that whole relationship, their family, their friends, your family, your friends. You're trying to put everybody together, which requires time. So of course, I mean, if you want to take it seriously, now if you just got a little beat piece and you're knocking it down, that don't count.
That don't count at all.
Right, not at all. Right, right.
The whole woman, you're gonna act differently because you want to. As much as you say you don't want to, you're gonna see your best representative of yourself.
right. What you thinking, Ruck?
No, I think you got to change, but I also think if it's a great relationship and it's good for everybody, I think you got to have the right friends and the right partner. So I think everybody got to give a little bit of grace.
Right.
Your friends got to give grace because you got another priority now. Right. And then your partner got to give some grace because they got to realize you had a life before them.
Oh, right.
My grandma used to tell my granddad all the time, like, shit, I was living before you. Like, I had a whole life right here.
An entire life.
I think when you think about good friends and like y'all are tight, y'all always been tight before y'all. It's like when you got a friend who really a friend, you cannot speak to them for 2 weeks and y'all pick up just like this.
Yep.
And you're not gonna be like, oh, you ain't spoke to me in 3 weeks because you with your girl. It's like you might joke about it, but it's like you understand.
Absolutely.
Right.
You should.
Especially the older you get, you understand because you're in the same situation.
Right.
And I think you also end up, as Jamie was saying, you start integrating groups where you're like, okay, I can come kick it with y'all, but she got to come. So now everybody got to bring their partner.
Yeah.
Right.
Or we got to go somewhere with that's kid friendly because now everybody got to bring the kid.
Right.
It turns into a different level of relationship, and everybody changes along the way.
You know what? My mama, she used to tell us that, you guys, when you get married, she said, I'm not worried because I trust y'all. And she said, I feel like I'm either gaining a son or a daughter. I don't feel like I'm losing a son or a daughter. And I think with my homies who got married, honestly, you guys balance that thing out awesome. I swear to God, man, I'll be checking y'all out. Y'all balance that thing out. So if I ever do get married, I will be consulting y'all on how y'all do that. But I know it's not easy. But I do. But I talk about. I honestly do. I talk about my friends who are married a lot, who I'm around a lot, like because it's almost like it's family oriented. It's almost like if I don't talk to them, it's like I don't talk to my cousins every day.
Right.
I don't talk to my siblings every day. It's kind of like that. So it's just like it flows. Kwame, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I hear a lot of. I mean, they hit on the nail already, but I mean, I think it's a lot of it's changing perception. I think it's two different things. Like I already spoken, already said that I think it's the balance and the act of trying to realize you got a new important person in your life that you have to make sure that they get a require my attention and making sure they priority, but also that you still being yourself and being able to do the things you want to do, and able to do. And hopefully that person's okay, even if it's outside of them, you know. But also too, I think sometimes perception in the sense that people automatically think you change because you're in a relationship, and it might be things you can or can't do because you can do, but people assume you can't do it because you're in a relationship, you know what I mean? And people are not really seeing, or it might be some things that you might not just want to do, and they think somebody might be thinking, oh, you're not doing it now because you're in this relationship because this person is the one holding you back. And a lot of times, like I said, it's all perception and stuff too. We are gradually changing as we get older. Like I said, we're getting a year older. It's a new year. I mean, and I'm not the same person I'm going to be 5 years ago. You know, 5 years ago, I'm not the same person 5 years from now. You know what I mean? And some of the things that you may want to do or don't want to do, it can all change. So it's almost like you have to respect that balance and that perception of what's going on, whatever and stuff too. So I don't think it's negative. I mean, but then there's situations where you see people who actually may get in a relationship and they change too, you know what I mean? And at least that's the perception of it, you know what I'm saying? And it may, whether it's true or not, you know what I'm saying? But if it feels that way and you just like, all right. And that's the situation too, because you don't know how to, is it your place to say anything? Is it a place to kind of ask to make sure they're okay, to check on them and stuff? It's like, how do you navigate those situations, whatever and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Without, and you trying to be an asset to that situation versus trying to, ruffle feathers or anything like that. So it's a lot, you know what I mean? It's got, I don't know, it's a lot.
I know. I'm sorry. I was just gonna say one thing. I've grown. I've gotten better, but I used to be overly cordial with my folks who were in relationships. I remember I used to ride motorcycles with a couple guys who were married, and I would never call them when I ride. When I would, turn a couple on, they'll see me like, that dude, why you didn't tell me you was riding? You know what I'm saying? Or I remember not long ago, I was hitting the NGM up, and I think Kashaw was like, damn, you ain't gonna say nothing about or something. It was something where I was told Kashaw although. But I just be in my mind. I'm like, all right, my homie's married. You know what I mean?
You assume the person can't go or can't hang out because they married.
Not that they can't go, but I just feel like my time. I just feel like sometimes folks may not move on my time. You know what I'm saying? Like that's all. It's more of a timing thing than it's you can't do this, because I don't think my homies who are married. I never think that they can't do anything. Yeah. It's more so just my time may not be their time. You know what I'm saying? That's all.
That's true. Well, I think people do think like that too. That people do think like that when you get in relationships. You can't do this or you can't do that. Especially when you get married. If you ever get married, trust me, when you get married, there are people who are going to be like, you can't do this because you're married, which is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
People might be able to do all of it, but you can't.
Yeah, you got to pick and choose.
You pick and choose, and I get it. Yeah.
I think what we all hope for is that if you marry the right person, they add value.
To the
that you're not losing anything. You actually gaining. Your change is an asset.
Absolutely. I tell you what.
I went to go see Jamie. He wasn't there. His wife was working the booth, and I was like, "This is an asset. Like,
this is all the assets.
You got to have a partner who's supportive. And y'all got to be supportive to each other.
Yeah.
It's like, I tell people, I'm like, as somebody who was married for a long time and got divorced, I'm like, you got to look at somebody's value proposition. And what they bring to the table, watching this therapist the other day on TV, and I was like, that is so true. And she was asking this guy about the woman he was dating. And he was like, she's pretty decent looking. She's very kind. Man, the therapist looked dead at him and said, at some point, kind is going to be the only thing that matters.
Only thing.
And she ain't lied. It's like, that's the problem though. It's like, when you're young, you don't know that.
Right.
That's true.
Like, you really gotta tap into somebody's character.
And
that's something that you don't learn till you're older.
What do you say, Kwame?
Yeah, sometimes it happens with experience and going through things. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty sure most of us probably with the person we with, because previous relationships that we've been through before, we learned what don't work for us. You know what I'm saying? And you kind of gravitate to some of the things that you don't even know is important until after you go through some stuff that with some other people. You're like, I ain't think I even cared about this until you go through it. And now I need this particular characteristic from my partner so I can be happy. You know what I'm saying? So, and it may be the smallest thing. You know what I mean? It could be just even, just even personally, just like dealing with somebody in the past, and then you don't know what kind of mood they're going to be in based on what's happening outside the world. And then it's the fact that, and we all got good days and bad days, but I've been talking to the point where you have
been triggered by something.
Yeah, and then you say, hey, and you get your head freaking ripped off because somebody made that person day bad. Like, I didn't realize that was important to me. So when I met my wife, for the most part, she has a real good, calm demeanor, and I didn't realize that's something that I needed and I valued. You know what I'm saying? If I didn't go through the other relationship, I probably didn't even know. I wouldn't even know it. You know what I mean? So I think it's part of growing and learning, like you said.
Same with me. I realized I needed somebody who was busy. I wanted to be with somebody who wanted to be alone. Because that's, I learned that about myself as an artist, though, because as an artist, what we do is so solitary.
It is. You're right.
And so it's like, you got to be with somebody who's going to allow you to paint for 10 hours a day or draw for 10 hours a day to do this. And you can't really pay attention. And so you need somebody who's equally as busy.
Okay.
As you. I get picked on by some of the people I hang out with here. It's like, they'll call me and be like, man, we doing this. Man, I'm drawing. I can hear him in the background. This nigga say he drawing. No, I actually am drawing. And I'm going to be drawing for like 10 hours a day. And so you realize through time and through wisdom, like, I need this type of person. I need somebody who's going to leave a sandwich by the door. But they ain't going to bother me about drawing.
Right.
And maybe I'm gonna draw 5 days straight, but then maybe the 3 days, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we gonna kick it hard.
Right.
And it's like you realize over time, like, all these little things you need.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I can't draw and hold your hand.
Right.
I realized like I needed somebody who was like a very busy self-starter.
Right.
So you learn.
We all do.
Definitely. That's a good example. That's proof in the pudding right there.
Right.
It was an expensive lesson, but I learned.
All right. Well, I think everybody pretty much put a piece to that. Like, I just wanted to just head to the dose of dopeness, and like I said, today, dose of dopeness is Rashuan Rucker. He's an Emmy award-winning artist, and I'll let him get into that more about the things that he's been doing in the past and currently now. So, Rashuan, it's you. It's on you, Rucker.
That's good shit, man.
Man, I'm just a dude from the South, man, who love to draw. Like, I always say, I always been that dude. Like, and earlier when you talked about us being close in the art department, like stepchildren, it's because being an artist, you was always the weird kid growing up.
You was the kicker on the team. You was the punter or the kicker on the football team.
Well, I played on the line because I was big, but I was just that weird kid who was, like, even today when people see me, I went to high school with that first thing they say is, man, you still drawing? That's the only thing they remember about me. I got on the bus every day with a sketchbook. And the sketchbook was filled with wrestlers. That's all I was. That's how I learned how to draw. People don't know that I learned how to draw from professional wrestling. That was how I learned how to draw.
Wow.
It was my family were huge wrestling fans, Mid South, NWA.
Come on.
And back then, if you remember, I'm a huge toy nerd too, but there was no wrestling toys back then.
Nah, it wasn't.
And there was none. Like you could get He-Man and other stuff, but you couldn't get a wrestling toy. And so my mama was like, you need to learn how to draw a wrestling man for yourself. And so I would draw Tully Blanchard and Dusty Rhodes, and I would color them. And she would take them to school and laminate them. And they became like these paper dolls. And then I started making belts for the neighborhood out of cardboard and putting aluminum foil.
Yeah, we used to do that too. Like the shoe boxes, bro.
And then I would draw, like all the little, like the birds and the ring and everything with a permanent marker on the foil. And we would like wrestle we would wrestle the whole neighborhood. You know, me and my cousin was the 22nd Street champs. You know, this was champs. So it's interesting how something like that can turn into a lifelong love, like how wrestling can turn into like art, and you never know where you're gonna get, you know, your influences from. I mean, I still to this day, like when I'm drawing, I'm usually watching like old stuff on WWE on they app. I'm usually watching old like wrestling stuff, or I was drawing yesterday and I watched they have a show called The Table for Three. I watched like 20 episodes of it. Just wrestlers sitting down talking.
The old stories are the best.
Yeah, and it's that kind of like pushed me into being an artist. Like, believe it or not, people laugh and they be like, "How'd you become an artist?" I'm like, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, like that. It was really something that was I needed. That was a necessity I had to feel in getting a toy or getting this object, and I learned it through the love of wrestling. And so came to Central, was an art major. Same thing. Even people at Central I went to school was like, "Man, you still draw?" Because y'all always see me walking with a clipboard, a big clipboard with paper top, you know, tape down to it, drawing. And it was just one of those things where, like I said, I went to Central because I knew Ernie Barnes went there, Beverly McIver. But I think also I went there because I saw representation. Somebody had already been there and done it. And so it's really hard sometimes to be something that you can't see.
That's exactly
and I was like, they were able to come here and make it. And I remember like maybe my sophomore year, Kadir Nelson came, who at the time, who was like a famous artist at the time. He did the storyboards for Amistad when it came out, the movie. And I'm looking at him and he spent a week with us. I'm like, if this dude can make it, I can make it. Like there ain't no difference between me and his drawing skill level. Like, and so it just, I think that's why I say it's so important sometimes to go to a Black college so you can see people that look like you. Because last year I did a teaching fellowship at a PWI, and that's what a lot of the kids, they left. They transferred after their freshman year. Wow. They was like, I don't fit in. It's too
a lot of the Black kids.
Yeah, a lot of Black kids
they don't feel cultivated.
It's 40,000 kids here. I don't fit in. There's no Black faculty. There's nobody that knows they don't have a reference to who I am, where I come from. Right. And that's why I think going to Central or going to HBCU, you have that point of reference. You know, everybody knows. And the thing I will say about Central, I don't know about other HBCUs, they won't let you fail. I told somebody, I said, you got to really fucking try to fail at Central. Right. Yeah. You really got to try. You might have to go in there and pee on somebody in the classroom or something.
Trying to get you up out of there.
You really like.
You really.
I remember like the semester after I pledged, I barely went to class, like ever. We were cooking on the plot a lot, Jamie.
You goddamn right. You cooking on that motherfucking plot.
And man, I never really tell people about this, but like the chair of the art department, he came to my dorm and was like, "Bro, what are you doing? You ain't been to class all semester." He said, "I'm gonna give you straight incompletes, and you're gonna take all these classes over next year. You're gonna lose the whole semester." He said, "But you also can't miss any more days." He could have gave me 4 F's.
Yeah.
But he was like, "I believe in you enough and in your talent to give you a bridge."
Yeah.
If I would have been at Duke, Carolina, anywhere else, peace out.
Deuces, yeah.
And I think that's important. Like navigating that campus was important. Like, how many schools can you go to where you just walk into the director of financial aid office office. I used to go around. She had a back door. I used to go through the back door.
This the old building or the new building?
That was the old one. It was in like
residential life. Hold up now, because that new building.
You would go in that residential life building, financial aid. She had a back door to her office, and I would go knock on the back door. And so I do those things at other schools.
No, we're not cultivated at other schools. Period.
People can't champion you like that, and I think the reason I became successful as a photojournalist and winning 3 Emmys and all these things was literally because of North Carolina Central. I never even would have worked at a newspaper when for North Carolina Central because I was an art major.
Right.
I was an art major, and like the people at the campus Echo just took me in, and they helped me get my first internship, my second internship, which ended up being an internship with the New York Times Journalism Institute. All of that was because of Central, and it all led to this. And it's like, but I think part of it is you got to do your part by being there.
Yeah. That's right.
And I tell college kids now, like, man, half the battle is just getting your ass up and going to class.
Right.
If you just go sit in the desk, you just go sit in the desk, man, that's like 80% of the battle.
Yeah, that's it.
And people in my neighborhood in Winston, we grew up, in a hard neighborhood, and people are like, oh man, Rucker, you were smart. You went to college. I said, man, I went to college with people who had no business in college, and they had graduated. like part of it is just getting up and doing the work.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think that's the thing that we lose. We got to sell our culture and sell it to students and say, this is a place where you can come achieve. This is a place where we can build you up from nothing and to the person that you need to be. Like we can make you into something.
Right.
Because I didn't even think I didn't believe I could have did any of this like without other people at Central believing in me.
Right.
You need that. And I think, going to some of those bigger schools or PWIs, you don't get that. And I know for a fact because I don't know if y'all know, but we had this thing at Central was called an inter-institutional exchange program. So you could go take classes at Duke for the same price as Central.
No,
you could take 2 classes a year.
Oh,
so I
really?
went into I went into 2 classes 1 year at Duke. And the first class was one of those stadium seat classes with like 50, 60 people in it. And I remember the professor was like, Mr. Rucker, you wasn't here Wednesday. The only reason you know, because I'm the only black person in the class.
Right, I'm the only piece of pepper in
here. Lady don't. Because you know what? We didn't even put our names on the papers we turned in. We wrote our ID number on it.
Damn.
So she didn't even know my name.
Mr.
She
0032.
only knew because I was the only black person. And so it's like being able to go there, and I made straight A's. I made A's in the 4 classes I took at Duke, but that just showed me I could go anywhere and do it.
Right, yeah.
So I never doubted the education I got at Central.
Right.
Like ever. I'm like super proud to tell people I went to HBCU.
Okay.
And that they missing out on something. And that's the thing when Jermaine asked that question in the beginning, I didn't apply to nowhere but HBCUs. I applied to Central, Morehouse, Hampton, and Elizabeth City State. I wanted to go to Morehouse. I got in, and my parents were like, "Hell no,
nigga."
Even back then, it was like $30,000 a year.
It ain't that, dog. You got to get up and down the road from Atlanta. That's the hard part.
My parents was like, "Nah, you gotta find somewhere else to go."
There's 10 black schools in this state alone. You gonna go
that's
to
what everybody
Atlanta?
would say. It's like 10 black colleges in North Carolina alone. So you couldn't really.
You want a beach? Or you want the water? What you want? You want the mountains? What you want?
But you know what happened though, and I'm talking about selling the culture at HBCU. I wanted to go to Morehouse because I had been sold that culture.
Yeah.
Because I had some teachers in high school who were black. They went to Morehouse, and all they talked about was being a Morehouse man.
Being a Morehouse man.
They had me brainwashed. Like that's the greatest place in the world.
Right.
That's where you want. Yeah.
And it's like. And so I think we have to get Central and other HBCUs to that point where it's like, what's stopping us from having a polo clothing line?
Oh, nothing.
Ain't nothing stopping us from that. We already got the connect. We just got money from Gap through Worry.
Yeah.
The fashion department did. I mean, and the people was buying it. I mean, my partner, she went to Spelman. She was like, oh, they just put this stuff up. That shit was gone in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
She didn't even get nothing. She got a jacket on the second wave. And that stuff was like $400 for a sweater.
Woo. I believe it.
There's nothing stopping us from having anything at that school.
Right.
Nothing. I mean, especially now when I look at it. Shit, I'm going there, I'm like, it's a Chick-fil-A on campus.
Dog. What's stopping us is the administration, those people who are just out of place. They're new, and there's old folk who are in the way, and the young folk who don't know how to reach out to a Rashuan Rucker. And we're missing these opportunities. So it's just like you said, you had somebody on the line, and then you went crickets. It's just administration. Somebody got to be a bulldog to go get things done.
I think you hit it on the head. I was talking to this black guy who was an executive at McDonald's, and he was talking to me about HBCU because he went there. He said HBCUs and newspapers have a similar culture. And he was talking about they don't get people into key positions or get them out of key positions when it's time for them to get out.
Yeah.
He said you go in the newsroom, you'd be like, man,
bingo.
Is Charo still here? Yeah, you know, he won that award in '83. Bro, it's 2020. Like, come on now.
2023.
He was like, that is a lot of times what HBCUs do. It's like, they get a dean and they let the dude sit there for 30 years.
Well, we got one in Carlton Wilson right now. You got to go.
Bruh. When I got to Freddie Parker was my mama's history teacher.
He's still there?
He was still there when I got to Central.
Yeah.
Like a lot of those people were still there from like the mid 70s. And at some point, you can't really grow unless you prune.
Yeah.
You got to cut back a tree for it to grow. You got to cut back a little bit for it to grow. You got to leave a little bit. We don't do any of that.
We don't.
So I think that's a major problem. That's my thing. I'm in grad school right now because I want to go back to Central or HBCU and be a catalyst for change.
That's great. I was about to ask you real quick before Kishara do his wrap up part is what are you doing now that you would tell people, or some of your recent projects that you did that you might want to share with people real quick?
So right now I have a solo show at the museum in Detroit, at the Museum of Contemporary Art Detroit, called Relief from the Heat, was photography, but photography is on 6-foot church fans.
Yeah.
In a gallery that's installed like a black church. And I'm doing that. I just closed out a show in LA with Charlie James Gallery. Have a second museum show at South Bend Museum of Art coming up in October this year. Still doing a lot of work. Like I said, I'm going to be speaking at in Austin at the end of the month, talking about my work with some students, doing mentoring work every Tuesday with Omega Sci-Fi here, with our youth group called Omega Academy. Just like doing a lot of projects, man, doing some things I'm very proud of. But my ultimate goal in going to the Cranbrook, which is, you know, a top 5 grad school for art in the country, is to go back and teach at an HBCU. So, only thing people know about Cranbrook is from the Eminem 8 Mile movie, because that was like the ending rap line when Eminem crushed the dude. He says, "You went to Cranbrook. That's a private school."
That's a private school. Yeah, private.
Yeah, that is the school I'm at. But you know, it's sad. Everybody I know who I tell that to tell me, don't go teach at the HBCU. They like tell me to turn left immediately. They like, bro, please don't do that to yourself.
What?
Go. I mean, some of the schools here are already like, we will give you a job here immediately after school. But I always felt like at some point I want to be that person. I can't, you know, you either got to shit or get out the pot. I can't just like complain from afar for so long. I got to be like a person that's going to at least try to. Even if it don't work, I can say, yeah, if it don't work, I can at least say, hey, you know what? I went to Central, I went to Winston State, or I went somewhere and tried to run a department the right way, and it didn't work out. And I think a lot of my friends who tried that, they get beat down by the people who have been there so long because they don't want to change.
They don't want to leave.
So after a while, they're like, you know what? I'm done, because I ain't gonna never get Dr. So-and-so and Dr. So-and-so who've been here 30 years to get on the train with me.
To get up,
and they leave and they go elsewhere.
And
you know, and so my thing is to try to go there and like really do some good groundbreaking work. It's no reason, I tell Warrior all the time, there's no reason that Central every year shouldn't have a music, fashion, art institute for like a week every year, like a workshop.
That'd be dope too, though.
Well, I think that's like you said, we can make these things happen. I definitely think we have the right people in place to make those things happen. Like you said, Jamie, like we got to bulldoze it. That's the only thing we're gonna make things happen. So we got to get in there and do it. But Ruck, we want to thank you for joining us tonight, man. Really,
I'm honored. This was awesome.
Yeah, glad you came. We really appreciate it. Dropping these gems. I don't know if the audience heard this, but because I didn't know this, he said 3-time Emmy winner. Not 1 time, 3-time Emmy winner.
Yeah, I thought he said it too.
Yeah, I was like,
I want to make sure the people
I thought y'all knew, dog. I thought y'all that's how toss I do, baby.
3 times.
We don't do it once.
You do.
Repeat. I say NCC, right?
Oh yeah, I will say before I go, if you in DC, go to the Smithsonian. My work is on the 4th floor of the African American Smithsonian.
Okay.
Right now, it's been up for about a year, so I feel like I get pictures every day from somebody from Central standing in front of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Make sure we plug that.
Hey, congratulations. Hey, I'm gonna check that out this week. No, next week. I'm gonna go check it out.
It's been a while, but I haven't probably been since it's been up there though. But
before you go back to class.
It's on the 4th floor. As soon as you walk in,
the
first thing you see.
All right.
Great, man. What you said? 4th floor? 4th? Okay.
4th floor.
Okay.
Yep. Like
4 times dope.
Well, you took the words out of my mouth. So we want to thank all our listeners for continuing to rock with us. We want to thank our special guest, Sean Rucker, 3-time Emmy winner, Sean Rucker. At that, make sure we plug that. Make sure you can. Dang, it's just so much. But you just laid a lot on us, Sean. Let me just say that. You just laid a whole bunch on us.
Yeah,
very, very good information. But yeah, anyone who wants to keep up with us and also keep up with Sean, you can check all our socials, 4times Dope Podcast. You can also email us at 4timesdopepodcast@gmail.com. And please don't forget about our merchandise with the great subject to change at www.shops2c.com. And until the next time, we are out.